Hey guys, Drongeaux here, and today we're going to be talking about the Priest class on Duskhaven's Classic Plus vanilla server running on a Wrath of the Lich King client, and we have a lot to talk about. They have introduced the Monk spec, which allows priests to now have a melee tank or DPS alternative. They still retain their Holy and Discipline specs as well for heals, Discipline leaning into the Monk tree, and they also have Shadow spec if they want to be a ranged caster. Additionally, they've added Smite spec. You have a Smite priest now, Smite slappers. All Smite priests rejoice. I know I am, given that I love Smite priests, right? I've enjoyed trying to make it work in Classic, and I still, in Wrath of the Lich King and the Burning Crusade, have a little predisposition or bias towards Smite priests. So it's nice to be able to play it on this Classic Plus server, and they make it work, baby. So without further ado, let's get right into it and talk about some of the changes to the priest on the overall level. Here we are, right? We have a new ability called Holy Champion, which increases HP and damage by 5% for yourself or others, also granting bonuses for each class. What are these bonuses? Let's go through them class by class, right? For priest, we receive the bonus of Renew and Shadow Word Pain ticks, having a 10% chance to grant spell power, scaling with your level. For Warlocks, Shadow damage increased by 4% when our target is below 35% HP. Mages gain 10% of used mana if any of our spells crit. Death Knights, Blood and Heart Strike have a 5% chance to cast a free Death Coil. Paladins increases the crit, stamina, and expertise by 2%. Warriors, they have a chance to generate extra rage when attacking. Hunters, 4% chance to fire your bow, dealing 80% weapon damage and consuming no ammo. Rogues reduce AoE damage taken by 20%. Druids, they grant an improved Mark of the Wild. And for Shamans, we help reduce the global cooldown triggered by your shock spells to 1 second. Across the board, Holy Champion, great ability. You get this as one of the tomes when you enter the game below level 10 and speak to the faction leaders so that you could obtain such an ability. Pretty cool. Holy spec. Let's talk about the changes. Spirit of Redemption increases total spirit by 15%. It was 5. Holy Priest passively gain access to Meditation 3 out of 3 by taking the Spirit of Redemption. Holy Concentration grants 65% increased mana regeneration from Spirit, which was 50. We have a new talent called Light's Promise. You are unable to be critically hit for 3 seconds after entering light form, and you deal an additional 3% damage and healing while in light form. There's also a new talent, Watchful Valkyr. You call upon a Valkyr to blast your enemies. The Valkyr increases the holy damage received by the target by 20% for 15 seconds. Can I hear a Smite Priest? Do I hear a Smite Priest? Yes, I do, because that Valkyr is key to increasing your throughput. And let's look at those changes that give you that edge. The Smite spell power coefficient slightly increased. Healing Focus, which is a talent, also reduces spell pushback suffered from casting your holy damaging spells by 35%, 70%. Light Form procs heal nearby players for a small amount. Light Form procs apply replenishment. We got Sustain. Holy Fire increases the spell critical chance against your target by 5% for 10 seconds. Can only be applied if Light Form is active. Pretty clean. So far, so good. We've got Searing Light, which is additionally reduces the cooldown of your Holy Fire by 2 seconds. Clean. Holy Fire slaps. Holy Reach grants 3% spell hit. Surge of Light procs activate Light Form, increasing holy damage by 15% for 3 seconds. So we've got Light Form really popping off here. Searing Light damage increased to 20%, which was at 10% at max rank. Glyph of Smite increased by 5%. It was basically 25% increased damage instead of 20. Smite has a small chance to restore some of the used mana, and it costs slightly less to cast in the first place. Astounding changes for Smite Priest, okay? They actually can contend with mages, warlocks, boomkins, hunters, ranged DPS, and just add a little more flavor. Bring in holy damage, which most mobs don't have resistance to, right? Bring in those things that would make it so that you're bringing down the wrath of the holy gods onto your enemy. I like it. Let's go into Shadow though. Let's not forget about what Shadow has. It does have a little bit of a decrease with Shadow Power, increasing critical strike damage by 95% instead of 100. But we do have some things that make up for it. Shadow Focus reduces the mana cost of your Shadow spells by 14% instead of 6. So you're not really going to be going that much. Focus Mind will help with that, which reduces the mana cost of your Mind Blast, Mind Control, Mind Flay, and Mind Seer spells by 25%. That was 15. We also have Shadowy Tome, which reduces the channel duration by 0.15 seconds and period by 0.04 seconds on your Mind Flay spells. It's almost like adding a little bit of a haste factor to your damage over time. And then we also have Searing Nightmares, which is going to blow your Aerie out the water, right? Your Mind Seer now afflicts all targets with a weakened version of Shadow Word Pain. Big damage, big changes. Discipline also has a little bit of a change for those that are Discipline Priests and they like bubbles. If you now have a new talent called Angelic Bulwark, and Power Word Shield increases your healing by 5% when cast on yourself. So these are the changes that are to the current existing specializations for Priest. The Monk is a whole different ballgame. Okay, you learn new abilities at the Priest Trainer for the Monk, and they synergize with most of the Discipline spells that you have capstone bonus-wise. A lot of the new talents within the Discipline tree, apart from the Bulwark, are also for the Monk spec. So let's go into them. Priests can become Monks at level 10. Simply visit your class trainer. The Priest gains new melee abilities and can choose between tanking and DPS. In my opinion, this is what the Priest has been missing. There's nothing cooler than having the inspiration of the Scarlet Monks that we went against in the Scarlet Monastery, in the Cathedral. It is a clean connection to what we would have been playing or should have been playing and are playing now on Duskhaven, so I appreciate it. Teachings of the Monastery damage. The Priest remembers the teachings of the Monastery and uses it to become a Monk, which grant new melee abilities. It increases the attack speed by 10%, your damage by 5%, and your movement speed by 10%. The attacks deal additional holy damage as well, and you gain the ability to dual wield weapons. You will lose the ability to use your Priest abilities, except for Inner Fire, Divine Spirit, Power Word Shield, Fortitude, Resurrection, Cure Disease, and Dispel Magic. Wielding a staff increases your melee damage by 7%. As for damage, we also have the tank side of Teachings of the Monastery, and these operate like stances, which I'm going to show you when we go into our Priest here in just a moment. The Priest remembers the Teachings of the Monastery and uses it to become a Monk, which grants new melee abilities. All right, we're increasing our attack speed by 5%, our health is increased by 30%, doubles our armor, chance to get critically hit is reduced by 6%, damage taken is reduced by 9%, and while we're below 35% health, we take 15% less damage overall. Hopefully should help make up for our cloth armor. Parry rating is massively increased, threat increased by 110%, and have movement speed increased by 5%. Our Power Word Shield absorbs 30% more damage than usual. Your auto attacks have a chance to heal you. You gain the ability to dual wield weapons and parry, but we do lose the ability to use all Priest abilities except for Inner Fire, Divine Shield, Inner Fire, Divine Spirit, Power Word Shield, Fortitude, Resurrection, Cure Disease, and Dispel Magic. There's a new resource, Chi, generated through and used for Monk abilities, can only be generated once every 2 seconds. This is a little funky, and we're going to talk about it. But let's look at the details. What do we have for a Monk? What are the abilities? Well, we'll start with Fist of Stone. We imbue your fist with stone. Afterwards, your movement speed is reduced by 50%, but your damage dealt is increased by 15% and parry rating by 10%. In addition to the devastating attacks, have a chance to break the bones of the target, reducing their chance to block, dodge, or parry for 5% for 20 seconds, and it instantly applies Inner Strength, consuming all of your stacks of Chi. You have Burning Fist. Your fists are lit ablaze. Melee attacks deal extra fire damage to enemies in a 5-yard radius for 10 seconds. It requires 1 Chi to be used. Piercing Jab inflicts 180% weapon damage increased by level and reduces an enemy's armor by 3% for 6 seconds, stackable up to 3 times. Like a faux sunder type of thing going on there. Piercing Jab always generates 1 stack of Chi. Piercing Jab causes affected targets to suffer additional damage over 4 seconds and heals the monk for the same amount. But this is only after level 25. You got Thrash Kick, a quick kick that injures all foes in front of the monk for 130% weapon damage, increased by level, and slows them by 25% for 8 seconds. We have a new passive ability, Serenity. Upon reaching 3 stacks of chi, you gain Serenity, which causes a cloud of mist to appear at your location that increases damage by 5% and heals allies every 3 seconds over 12 seconds. Provoke, your standard taunt, off the global cooldown. Zen Meditation. This spell's a little funky, right? Meditate over 6 seconds to restore 25% mana and reduce damage taken by 10% for 15 seconds. Can only be used while out of combat. I'm not sure how this is going to work unless you have a hunter that misdirects to the channeling Zen Meditation monk as an AoE pool, but how are they going to generate aggro? I don't know. Zen Meditation needs some work. Not a fan. There's a new passive ability, Mystic Touch. Your Thrash Kick and Piercing Jab increase damage taken by the enemy from physical sources by 2%, stackable up to 3 times. So you are giving everyone 6% physical bonus damage. Awesome. Great synergy, great support. You have a new passive ability, Inner Strength. Each time Serenity triggers, your damage taken is reduced by 3% for 30 seconds, which is stackable up to 5 times. A 15% damage reduction if you're able to trigger Serenity appropriately. Hence, the gaining chi every 2 seconds is a little sus, but we're trying to make it work. Ring of Peace forms a ring of peace around the monk's location, silencing all enemies inside. Lasts for 5 seconds. So, like the Ring of Peace that we know within Live, but actually with a little bit of a druid flair, so that we silence all enemies within this Ring of Peace. Pretty clean, especially for tanking. Fist of the Tiger performs a massive jab in front of all enemies, dealing holy damage twice and restoring 30% mana. After Fist of the Tiger hits your attack speed is increased by 20% for 12 seconds. Consumes all stacks of chi. Fist of the Tiger cannot be parried, dodged, blocked, and it instantly applies Inner Strength. We got Firestorm Kick, one of the more popular abilities where we whirl around over 2 seconds, kicking flame at all nearby enemies for 4 seconds, increasing their fire damage taken by 5% for 15 seconds, so Fire Mage synergy there. Can be channeled while moving and requires 1 chi to be usable. We've got Leg Sweep, the standard crowd control, deals damage to nearby enemies, knocking them down for 2 seconds. Good to establish threat, kind of like the Warriors. The name escapes me, but they hit the ground, and then it's Shockwave, just like their Shockwave, except in this case it's a Leg Sweep. We've got Fortifying Resolve, which turns our skin into stone, increasing health by 15% and reduces damage taken by 20% for 15 seconds. Wall, basically. A new passive ability, Scarlet Bond, Thrash Kick, Piercing Jab, and Fist of the Tiger increase our movement speed by 5% for 15 seconds, stackable up to 4 times, 20% movement speed buff. Awesome. We got Tiger Rush, your standard sprint. Improved Inner Fire increases the amount of armor granted by 50%. Only for monks. We've seen this in Wrath the Lich King with the glyphing. Enlightenment increases your dodge chance by 2% and melee haste by 4. Okay, so we're starting to see the energy of Enlightenment. Focused Will increases your melee crit chance by 3%. And we have a couple new talents. Improved Firestorm Kick. After using your Firestorm Kick, your hands are lit ablaze for 4 seconds afterward, dealing extra fire damage in a 5-yard radius. We got Scarlet Will, which we found new ways to combine the teachings of the monastery with the light. Our Inner Focus, Pain Suppression, and Power Infusion gain additional unique effects, which we're going to go into. And then we also have Glory of the Monastery. We enter an elevated state of mental and physical serenity for 12 seconds. While in this state, we deal 15% increased damage and gain 15% increased health. A lot to talk about, right? Many changes and very fun to walk through or to play through. So let's actually go ahead and log in to our character here so that we can show you a little bit of what the monk plays like, right? Especially with the stances. I really, really, really like the fact that I can be a priest at the same time as being a monk. Okay, that's awesome. It's not 2 separate classes. It's all built into the same one, and the talents are synergized to each other, right? They mostly are built off of the discipline tree, there are capstone bonuses that I will be unable to show you at the moment, but here's, for example, Angelic Bulwark for those actual Discipline Priest healing cooldowns right after Soul Warding. We have Angelic Bulwark. We have Scarlet Will, which is what changes our power infusion to increase our haste by 15%, our melee haste. Inner Focus causes the next Fist of the Tiger to grant us 10% increased critical strike damage for 20 seconds. Amazing. And then our Power Word Shield now always grants us a lesser version of Pain Suppression, which reduces all damage taken by 10% while the shield is active. Clean support position here. Clean. Glory of the Monastery, one of the other new talents that we can see. While in this state, you deal 15% increased damage and 50% increased health. Clean. I'm a huge Discipline Priest fan, and if it synergizes with Monk, even better. All right, if we look at the Holy Tree, we obviously have our Surge of Light, which plays into the Watchful Valkyr, right? And we also have Light's Promise, which is all in reference to the synergy for Smite Priest. We got Searing Light, of course, Divine Fury, all the talents that you know to be true for Smite Priest. So that's clean. And then finally, our Shadow Priest has the Shadowy Tome right underneath the Focused Mind, as well as the Searing Nightmares right next to Pain and Suffering. So we've got options, folks. We've got options. Now, in reference to being a priest at the same time as being a monk, we can begin the fight as a priest. We're going to open up here with a Mind Blast into a Shadow Word Pain, and then we're going to go ahead and activate our Teachings of the Monastery DPS, and we're going to start hitting. Now, I do have a pretty booty weapon at the moment. We're going to hit ourselves with a Power Word Shield here, and if you see, if I try to use Mind Blast, it's not going to let me. It's not going to let me use Shadow Word Pain, but it will let me use my Piercing Jab, and I'm currently stacking on them the armor reduction by 9%. Taking a good bit of damage here, again, because we don't really have a good weapon nor good gear at the moment. It's pretty booty. But, yeah, here is the highlight. Now, if I wanted to phase out of being a monk and go back to being a priest again, I am able to. And here I'm hitting him with my wand to finish him off. Voila. Good to go, baby. So, I'm going to go ahead and heal ourselves up a little bit here. And then I'm going to show you the armor coefficient values, right? So, right now we have Inner Fire, and we're at about 440 armor. We're going to drink some water here so that we can then show you how this is going to be impacted by our Teachings of the Monastery tank. Here we go. We're going to go into tank form, and 882 armor, folks. 36.95 damage reduction. We are only level 13 with absolute abysmal gear at the moment, and we are still slapping, feeling very confident in this hardcore Iron Man challenge. Iron Man within the server reduces the experience that you gain down to like 1x, and then you also have the hardcore mode, which damage dealt is reduced by 30%, damage taken is increased by 30%, and the absorbs and healing effects are reduced by 25%. I will have another video as to how I think that this can be improved, because I still feel pretty overpowered, and there is a conversation to be had about immersion in the world through this kind of approach, right? Hardcore has revivified the world of Warcraft in recent times because it immerses people in having to pay attention to their immediate surroundings. I think that this could really be scaled with Duskhaven. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the comments on my previous video, actually. Shout out to D. Kenor, who let me know that, hey, let's make some audio adjustments, which is why we're using this microphone now instead of the Quadcast to have a little bit of a cleaner sound, reducing some of the music volume and giving you all a better viewing/listening experience. My name is Drongeaux. Make sure you tune in to twitch.tv/Drongeaux. We are live, basically going through this hardcore challenge. Here we go, Drongeaux. Voila, this is me. Tune in so that you guys can watch our journey, our adventures, and stay tuned for more of these videos reviewing all of the Duskhaven changes, as I'm really enjoying the server, and we got plenty of classes to go, folks. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and until next time, y'all have a great day.